Every once in a while, usually late at night, you make a life-changing decision. You suddenly think, that's it. Something inside you becomes completely convinced that things are about to change. Tomorrow, I'm changing my entire life. Not one little habit, apparently the entire thing. And because you're feeling inspired, you make a perfect plan. Suddenly, solving every problem in your life seems surprisingly easy. Wake up early, exercise every day, eat clean, read more, meditate, learn something new. And in that moment, this plan feels completely realistic. You genuinely can't understand why you didn't start doing all of this years ago. In fact, it feels inevitable. In your head, the disciplined future version of you already exists. Tomorrow will be different, at least that's what tonight you is absolutely certain of. And then the next day arrives, 5 in the morning, shows up much faster than it did when you were making the plan. Somehow, you actually do it. You're exhausted, but for once you get out of bed anyway. You wake up early and go outside. And while everyone else seems to be asleep, you already feel strangely productive. You work out. It's uncomfortable, but today, even the discomfort somehow feels satisfying. You eat healthy. Suddenly, choosing vegetables instead of junk food makes you feel ridiculously responsible. You read instead of endlessly scrolling on your phone. And for a moment, you wonder why being productive ever seemed difficult. By the end of the day, you feel amazing. Day one is complete, and your new life seems to be officially underway. And after one productive day, your brain reaches a dangerous conclusion. Wow, I guess this is just who we are now. And for a few days, it actually works. Each new check mark makes you more convinced that this time is different. But then, one morning feels different. The exact same alarm suddenly feels 10 times louder. Getting up suddenly feels harder. And 10 extra minutes sounds completely harmless. So you press snooze once. You promise yourself this is definitely the last time. Then you press it again. Somehow your perfect morning routine is now negotiating with a blanket. And somehow, you wake up 3 hours later. For a few seconds, you just stare at the clock in disbelief. Later, the book suddenly feels painfully boring. The same 30 pages that felt easy yesterday now feel enormous. Meanwhile, your phone becomes the most interesting object in the universe. One tiny notification suddenly feels impossible to ignore. So you tell yourself you'll watch just one thing, and somehow, one thing quietly turns into the rest of the evening. And just like that, the system starts collapsing. 3 perfect days suddenly become something that happened last week. And this is usually where you make your biggest mistake. Instead of questioning the plan, you start questioning yourself. You ask yourself, why can't I stay consistent? Because from the inside, it really feels like something is wrong with you. And then comes the easiest explanation, maybe I'm just lazy. But that usually isn't true. You're treating a failed strategy like proof of a failed personality. You are probably not the main problem. The way you try to create consistency is, most people unknowingly build their habits around one fuel source, motivation. When motivation appears, the whole system starts moving. And when motivation is high, everything feels easy. Suddenly, even difficult things seem completely manageable. You feel focused, excited, and powerful. It feels like this energy could last forever. But motivation is unstable. The amount you have today tells you almost nothing about how you'll feel tomorrow. It's like trying to drive toward your goals using motivation as fuel. When the tank is full, the journey feels effortless. Sometimes it works incredibly well. You move fast and start wondering why everyone says consistency is difficult. But eventually, the tank runs empty. And when motivation disappears, your entire system stops with it. Motivation is great at helping you start, but consistency requires something that still works after that excitement disappears. And there's another reason staying consistent feels so difficult. Your brain is constantly choosing between different kinds of rewards. Your phone offers a reward immediately. One tap and something interesting appears. Exercise is different. Most of the reward arrives much later, while the effort happens right now. Your phone gives you novelty, entertainment, and stimulation instantly. It barely asks anything from you first. A workout gives you sweat, discomfort, and effort first. The results might not become visible for weeks. So, your brain naturally starts leaning toward what feels better right now. And in that tiny moment, long-term plans become very easy to forget. This doesn't mean you're broken, it means easy now has a powerful advantage over better later. Motivation creates one more problem. When you feel amazing, you design your routine for someone who always feels amazing. So, the plan gets bigger and bigger, because right now, every one of these things sounds completely reasonable. But there's something important you forgot. The person making the plan isn't always the person who has to follow it. Motivated? You has endless ambition. He genuinely believes tomorrow will be easy. Tuesday. You is a little different. He's tired, busy, distracted, and really doesn't want to exercise. Unfortunately, motivated. You keeps giving Tuesday you enormous assignments and then act surprised when he doesn't finish them. Eventually, the plan becomes too heavy, so instead of doing a smaller version, you often do nothing at all. That doesn't necessarily mean you lack discipline. It might simply mean the plan demanded more than you could reliably repeat. Most people imagine consistency as taking huge steps every day. It looks impressive until you actually have to climb them. The bigger the required action, the harder it becomes to start, and eventually, even thinking about the habit feels exhausting. Real consistency often works the opposite way. You make each step small enough that starting stops feeling like a battle. Want to exercise consistently? On difficult days, 5 push-ups are better than another perfect workout that never happens. Want to become someone who reads every day? Start with one page because one page is extremely difficult to make excuses about. Want to meditate? 2 minutes is enough to practice showing up before you worry about doing more. The first goal isn't to make the habit impressive, and the first goal is to make starting almost ridiculously easy. Show up first, improve later, because you can always increase a habit that already exists. At first, these tiny actions might feel almost pointless. 5 push-ups obviously won't transform your body overnight, but the immediate result isn't the most important part. You're practicing the act of returning to the habit. And every time you show up, you collect a little more evidence. Evidence that you're becoming someone who follows through. Eventually, something deeper starts to change. You stop thinking only about what you want to achieve and start changing how you see yourself. You stop trying to act like a consistent person. Through repetition, you slowly become one. Of course, eventually you're going to miss a day. Life will happen, and the perfect streak will break. And that's completely normal. One missed day does not magically erase everything you did before it. The important part is returning quickly, because one missed day is an accident, but two can start becoming a new pattern. So use one simple rule: never miss twice. You don't need perfection, yet you just need to interrupt the slide before it grows. It also helps to give every important habit a bad day version, something small enough that you can still do it when the day goes completely wrong. Maybe you're tired, stressed, or completely overwhelmed. Fine. Do the tiny version and keep the connection with the habit alive. Because bad day consistency beats perfect day ambition. Anyone can follow the plan when everything feels easy. Don't create another enormous routine for an imaginary perfect version of yourself. You already know what usually happens to that plan. Make one small promise instead. Choose something so realistic that even tired tomorrow, you can actually keep it. Because the people who stay consistent aren't always more motivated than you. They've simply learned how to keep showing up even after motivation disappears.